So you got.
And hello, Comic Core. It is Thursday night, which can only mean that we are talking about some Thrones right now. So, as you can see, we are live, and a big reason for that is I brought some outstanding people on to talk about this amazing issue. So, let's start with the host of the Friday night stream, my partner in crime through there, Seawood.
Thanks
I'm,
for
I'm
having me,
not gonna
guys.
do the whole like 100%, awesomeness because I'm not that good. But Seawood, 19.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. It was an awesome episode. I can't wait to talk about it. Unfortunately, I didn't have as many gimmicks as Chad does. We'll see those in a second. So I at least brought the lighting from the previous episode. So there you go. There's some visual for that.
Yeah, is that Seawood? I can't tell who's there.
All right, so on to the next one. John's Comics with Kids. What is up?
Hey, it's nice to be here. I'm a huge Thrones fan, and the two breakdowns that Cat Ren did earlier, if you haven't seen them, are super awesome. And the little cameo at the end of the first one still slays me. I rewatched that at least 5 times.
Yeah, Mark couldn't be here, unfortunately. But we brought someone even better, and that's Chad from Comic Core. What's up, Chad?
I'm definitely not better than Mark, but I got my new coat on. I got my big scarf. I got my house. I'm ready to do this. Let's do this.
You gotta be
brought some
sweating
fur.
bullets.
I am dying in this thing. But I'm gonna keep the lights off.
All right, guys. So before we get on into the whole review of this episode, the Battle of Winterfell, which we're going to go full spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode already, shame on you. It was amazing. And it's the final season. But is everyone aware of how long it took them to actually create this episode? I just recently saw in an interview 55 days of night filming.
They actually have a real cool video. I think it's on HBO Go or Now or whatever it's called, where they have like a 45-minute documentary just on the making of this episode. It's insane, all the night shooting that they went through. It's absolutely grueling. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think it's on their YouTube channel as well. It's like I haven't seen like a crazy battle filmed like this since like that Helm's Deep battle and Lord of the Rings Two Towers. I mean, there's definitely a lot of comparisons to be made right there.
I thought the episode was amazing. I know it got a lot of flack for being so dark, and like Kat said, adjust the TV knobs. But I mean, they got the right director to direct this episode. I mean, the guy did Battle of the Bastards last year, so let's finish this off at Battle of Winterfell.
And like we said, as soon as you saw the episode that it was going to be dark, Mark and I paused it, and we just messed around with the settings on our projector a bit, and we saw everything just fine. So maybe readjust the settings on whatever device you're viewing it on, and don't hate on this amazing crew that's doing all this great stuff, Game of Thrones. But diving right on into the battle, where do you guys think we should start? You think we should start with the very beginning of the battle, or just dive on into the craziness?
Let's talk about this. I mean, just from the get-go, you have Melisandre show up. I mean, they're all sitting there. They're ready. They're prepped. You got the Thraki is the first tier of defense.
First wave.
And Melisandre stands up. She comes in and she just puts her hand on the sword, and she brings the fire to it. So right then, you're like, oh my God. And you start to remember last season, the season before, what she said and how important it is. And I mean, there was a lot of foreshadowing that she was coming back, even the episode prior. And I don't know if you guys remember, and you're going to have to help me with some of the names because I'm terrible, but he was serving the goulash or the ghoul to the army and
Sir Davos.
Sir Davos, yeah, and
Onion
Davos,
Knight.
he swore that he's going to kill her the next time he saw her.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's serving it to the little kid, and the little kid had the mark on the face. I'm just
She looked like Shireen.
Yeah, and it got me going, and that's one of the things that got me so excited about this episode, because I had a feeling she was coming back, but I didn't know what role she was going to play and how big of a role she was going to play.
So definitely the entry division of the fleet, led by Ser Jorah and Ghost. Out of any of the characters, I was like, oh no, they're gonna kill him off quick. So, what do you guys think of the infantry division, the Dothraki, who are supposed to be, this unstoppable, fearless, brazen warriors, and how they were handled and what happened?
I will say, from like a cinematic standpoint, that was probably one of the richest visuals they had in the whole episode. The idea of not only having them be this sort of cavalry out front, then igniting all of their weapons, and then charging off into the long night where all you see is the light, and of course, just little by little watching them go out was one of the, in my opinion, the coolest visuals in an episode that people are teasing about not being able to see very well. This is a really impressive visual that gave me chills just watching it slowly break down and happen. Especially when we've seen seasons worth of how badass these guys are and how effective they are. And put them obviously in a climate that they're not really ready for, against a foe that they're not ready for, and to just see them get taken out so easily, seemingly easily, was just it was awesome, spectacular.
Yeah, I agree with John. I really like that opening scene. First off, like my joke with the lighting, I actually really enjoyed the lighting in this episode. I appreciate the fact that they made it that dark, because if you're fighting this dude who controls all these elements and it's the middle of the night, it's gonna be dark out. So and it made the it probably helped with the CG a little bit. That way you could make it a little bit darker, a little bit more ominous. So you make the White Walkers a little bit more threatening seeming, and especially once the Dothraki stormed in and you saw those torches go out, you knew you were going to be in for a very long episode. And just I've heard a lot of feedback oh, those Dothraki guys are idiots. The whole strategy in this battle is dumb. That's who the Dothraki are, though, in my opinion. They're always going to be the guys. They storm out on the horses. Jamie Lannister said it best, either last season or a couple seasons ago, where he's just you're basically an idiot if you try to challenge Dothraki horde on horseback coming towards you. You're not going to stand a chance. So when you see this scene, they have these enchanted blazed torches now, and they still don't stand a chance. That just shows you how real this threat is to Winterfell now. The only problem, and then a lot of people are why is Jorah there? Why does Jorah have to be with the Dothraki? He's basically been an honorary member since season 1. So I'm totally good with him helping with that charge. The only thing I didn't like was Ghost. Why is Ghost there? I have no idea.
Could you argue, though, that maybe the complaint isn't that they are being stupid, but that perhaps whoever's organizing Winterfell's forces is being a moron by putting them in front and letting them try to charge off? That was one of the things that irked me a little bit, is watching the episode and feeling like it would have been kind of interesting, even in the episode beforehand, just to show what their strategy was. Whoever's in charge, whatever decision-making plan, why they're putting the cavalry here, the infantry here, Bran here, the guards, just what is their strategy? Because it seemed like they were making it up as they went along, even though they had so much time to plan, so many troops to navigate. It didn't seem organized, or at least I didn't feel let in on the organization so that I can understand the method. I was excited that the dragons were being held in reserve. That at least showed some thinking, that I was like, okay, they've got a plan for the dragons. But I would have been, I think if we were in on the strategy, it would have been more exciting to see when it fell apart and how they were adapting to the moments,
Yeah, my theory kind of on a lot of that is I know a lot of the criticism of this episode had to do with the strategy, and I'm just like, at this point, like all of your best strategists in the world of Game of Thrones, with the exception of a couple, have pretty much just been killed off at this point. So that's the way I kind of looked at it. You have like a bunch of, kind of ragtag group of rookies now, or your, to put it in a wrestling term, your main eventers now, like your Daenerys or your Jon Snows. Probably the biggest letdown for this episode, arguably, is Tyrion, because he's supposed to be like your remaining master strategist. He's hand to the queen, and he was exactly, Kat. He was shelved. He was like, just go hide in the crypts. That's your job for this thing. And he's like, I should do something, and then he's still in the crypt. So that's probably like the biggest letdown of this whole episode is Tyrion, and even to the extent Sansa, but.
Somebody has to be in there to hold hands in that
crypt. Pretty much.
But I did really enjoy the scenes between them in the crypt as well. But we'll get on to that later on. So just seeing...
Can we give a shout out to the chat real quick?
Yes, we can.
I'll do that because I never get a chance to see what on it is. We got Pokemon Joe. We got Cinema Figures. Kakarot, what's up? Enjoy your day off tomorrow. Perry's Comics, Jack Yo, Drew Manchu's in the chat. Welcome, Drew. We'll see him tomorrow night. Poor Mike Kachun. I'm hoping I'm saying these names right. JP's Budget Collecting, Jack Yo, and a special, and hopefully get well real quick to the man himself, the great legend show, Harold Comic Corps. I know he's still a little under the weather, and I hope he's doing well. And 90. Chad from 90MF Comics is in there, so that's it, Kat. It's all yours.
I thought I had saved a meme. I know that Kat likes the memes for Game of Thrones, and was throwing a bunch in here. There was a funny one I saw, and I can't find it now, but it's the classic Simpsons one with the boy on the bus, and it says underneath, like, and he's like, I'm in so much trouble. He's like worried, and it was like everybody in the crypts is basically like, I'm in deep trouble right now. Like, the worst idea ever to stick us all in the crypts, right? There's so many great memes about just like the horrible waiting that they were all in.
And the Slapdragon just jumped in too. So TJ, Slapdragon, thank you. So after the Dothraki go out there and get their just asses handed to them, I'm sitting there scratching my head, and I'm like, you got two dragons. What the hell? I mean, the use of the dragons bothered me, and the fact that I don't know if Ghost is dead is bothering me.
I think he's dead, and I think it's a waste. They didn't even get... If he is in fact dead, I feel like they cheated him a death scene.
Absolutely.
Even if it happened in the dark, he could have had a howl, or he could have heard a growl, anything, but just darkness, and then a handful of Dothraki and Jorah.
So,
did you notice that the Dothraki managed to give themselves haircuts? So they did, in fact, remove their braids.
Really?
Some of them had, yeah. I feel like most of them were a little too fearful, but a few of them had short hair now.
Now, I will say, strategy-wise, having the dragons hang back made total sense to me, because she got so horribly, not literally, but figuratively burned the last time she brought all three of her dragons in to face the Night King. It turned out so horribly. I felt like the strategy of holding the dragons back and waiting for the Night King to reveal himself was the best strategy. And I would have been really disappointed if she'd been like barreling in with both dragons right off the bat, because she could have just absolutely been in such a deeper hole.
There was a moment, though, a couple episodes ago, when he revealed to her who he is. And there was a moment where she saved him. And I said, oh, she's going to let him die.
Yeah.
Because she has this, like,
strategy.
Something there is like, can they? I don't know.
Hold on. Yeah.
So as far as like the next portion of the story here, obviously it falls apart a little bit. Did it seem like the strategy for the heroes was just Bran is everything and we protect Bran? Because it wasn't super spelled out like that. I know the previous episode you had Theon saying, I'll guard him. But it didn't seem like I never felt like Dany was like, yeah, Bran is it. I got to protect Bran. It felt more like Dany was, no, I'm going to kick this guy's ass. Like, she was not on a defensive strategy, right? She was very clearly on I want to fuck this guy up, versus everybody. It seemed like everybody else was on the strategy of no, like defense. We're guarding this guy to the end.
Well, I agree with you on that one. I mean, Jon was the one that said the Night King falls, they all fall. And I know when they were trying to get those two wanted to be close to it, but I think, again, to your point, John, she wanted to be up front, let me go right at him. And I think we saw some of that when he revealed himself with the dragon, but I think she didn't realize how powerful he was until they took a little bit of an ass whooping.
And that seems to upset her plan, right? Because she's trying to lay in wait, and then she watches her Dothraki get wiped out, and she's like, I can't hang back. So then it obviously shifts everything, right? What's that saying? All the strategies of war go to hell the second like you start fighting.
Yeah, and that's where. So I'll ask you your opinion. So after the Dothraki go out and they spot they essentially spot the Night King, and the two of them go up and they're going after him. The second wave comes and it is just overrun by the dead. And now the dead is pushing back, and even Grey Worm, right?
Grey Worm.
At this point, you see fear in his eyes because that's all you can see because he's got that. And you can actually, and that's fantastic acting because the fact that you could see him go from here to fear, I was taken back, and you heard the words retreat. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time you heard his people ever say retreat. And what do you think?
Protect the retreat?
Yeah, protect the retreat. Yeah. Protect the retreat.
Because they were just being, basically massacred on the field.
No, for the first time in his life, Grey Worm has, people he cares about now, really. Obviously, he has a queen to follow. He has a girlfriend now for the first time ever. So, obviously, this is the first big risk that he could just lose everything. So, yeah, they definitely did a great job with that character.
I'm sorry, but I at this point, they're retreating. And here she comes again. They're sitting there trying to get they're trying to get the second line of defense, which is the wood that they have surrounded.
The spike pit.
Yeah, the spike pit that they have, and they can't get a hold of her, Dany, that is, because she is up above, and the Night King is putting this layer of fog down.
And they can't see.
They cannot see whatsoever. But this is where Melisandre comes back out, places her hand on the wood, and I'm like, oh my God, I got chills. Carson, look, I got chills.
Yep.
He still has them.
Oh, yeah.
So when you see her go through that process and put it back on in the fire, you have a little bit of hope. I am telling you, this is the first time I watched a show where I'm like, it doesn't matter if you've not watched Game of Thrones ever. All you got to know is there's a bunch of dead people, there's a bunch of alive people, there are a lot of people who are going to die, and it's going to be a horror movie because that's what it was. There was no stopping this wave. And, I guess Odin didn't like my review.
Sorry.
But Kat, you can take it from there. But obviously, which I got chills from seeing her come full.
Her struggling to light that, and you can see in her eyes for a split second there where I almost feel like she was a bit concerned that the Lord of Light may not answer her when she's calling for this fire, when it's taking so long and the army of the dead is just getting so close to her. It definitely put a lot more tension in the episode for me. And I was definitely much more sorry, my headphones being stupid. I was definitely much more on edge with that than I was expecting.
I didn't really see the whole like winter storm thing coming as far as like a great device to use in the story. Like obviously we knew winter was coming, but I didn't imagine that the Night King using it so effectively in battle. And I thought it was another good like cinematic device or visual device, having just absolute chaos and the overwhelming power of cold, so that they can't keep fires going. They can't use sort of some of the natural defenses that we've seen them using to fight the dead. I loved sort of the way that they neutralized some of the heroes' bonuses, the things you thought, oh, this will be effective. Then they're going to take it out of the equation. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I agree. Like, as there's so many good fighters that they have at their disposal at this point. Like, they have like so many people they built up over the show. So you're like, oh, sure, they can fight these like undead zombie people. But once you get elements of weather involved and all that, like, you know, like they use like, man, then maybe they're all screwed. Like, that's when they really, you know, put that seed of doubt in me, at least. Like, not only was, you know, to lose the Dothraki that early, but now you've got like all these characters have been building up to do like all these badass things. They're all getting pushed against brick walls at this point. But I really do like this part with the Red Lady lighting the torches, basically, because you were going back to that HBO mini documentary about this. Like, they were kind of just saying like the acts were kind of almost divided by the lighting. So you had that Act 1 that was almost entirely dark and dreary, and then Act 2 they lit up all these fires, so it resembled hell. So when they had all these fires going around, especially for the Hound, like, he was screwed at this point because he's like Martian Manhunter. He hates fire, so he's literally surrounded by fire and ice at this point. So he just doesn't stand a chance at even doing anything until he gets in with Arya later on down the line. But this is probably like one of the better parts of the episode.
And at this point, Braun is Braun's standing. He's sitting in his wheelchair, and Theon is trying to talk to him, and he says something to me. He says to Theon, he goes, "Theon, you're a good man." And he goes, "But it's time for me to go." And Theon looks at him and was like, "Where are you going? How are you going to go anywhere?" And then he flies off. Now, when he flies off, that's when you start to see that the Night King is using, he's seeing everything that's going on, and the weakness and how they penetrate the wall. At this point, they go through the fire by sacrificing themselves onto the fire, building enough of a gap that the rest of the zombies can go. Now, everybody is in. Everybody's in Winterfell. The doors are up, it's locked, they're ready to go, they're standing on top, they're shooting the arrows with the dragon glass, and it looks like our heroes have a little bit of a chance. No, they are completely overwhelmed. And I have not seen, you could just see the exhaustion in Sam Tully's face. And I mean, well, he just continued to cry. The entire episode, he just cried. And Kat, you're going to have to help me with some names, but the little girl.
My gosh.
They called her Lady Mormont.
Lady Bear. My little honey bear. Lyanna Mormont.
She is a badass chick.
She is.
Or was.
She, when they finally do brace through the barrier, brace through the wall where she and her men are, she's actually taken by surprise. She's in the middle of an order, and a giant, a giant White Walker, just kind of slaps her across the entire courtyard right there, and is just making quick work of a bunch of Herman. But it's actually her just picking up a discarded weapon when you can tell, like, she's spitting out blood. She's got some bones crunching. This girl is in some serious pain, but she just lets out a banshee screams and just runs at him with everything she's got. And he, unfortunately, yes, this happens. He grabs a hold of her, and you hear the crunching, and he just gets her right here, right at his face, and you're really concerned what's going to happen. But she goes down like the badass character that she is, and she just stabs him through the eye, and they both fall and die together. Like,
So
she was gonna die.
There's a lesson learned here.
She was gonna take down the biggest, baddest guy with her. And you know what? She was tiny. I think that should qualify for at least 50 kills. That was amazing.
Well, I mean, lesson learned here is you don't grab a woman of the North, ever. Don't grab a woman from the North. I'm not, I say grab any woman, just be cautious not to grab a woman from the North.
Stab you in the eye.
But that was the same. Okay, I don't know if it was the same giant, but that was the same scene from the Battle of the Bastards, because the giant kicked down the door, and Ramsay just kept on shooting him with the arrows until John got there. So it was kind of reminiscent of that. It was the same door that got kicked in, and so at this point, all hell was broken loose, and I'm sitting there because I have money on it, and I'm like, okay, come on. Who's going to die? Come on, Jamie. Please die, Jamie. Please die, Jamie. He didn't die.
What are you throwing shade on my boy for?
He had a 50-1 odds that he was going to die in the battle.
Since we were starting to get to it, there's another character that dies in this that we'll get to a little bit later that broke my heart, honestly, even more so than what Lyanna dying broke my heart. But who else was surprised at the lack of deaths in this? I mean, we had a bunch of filler die throughout, but there weren't that many big name deaths, with the exception of House Mormont. I mean,
they definitely took the biggest hit for sure.
Yeah.
Who really died? To be honest, what other than
Ed.
House Mormont, who really died?
Poor
I mean,
Ed had to give his life to old Sam.
Mormont died.
Yeah, I think that was one of the bigger disappointments for me, for sure.
Didn't really see it.
I just felt like a show that clearly and consistently shows like significant weight to these kind of moments definitely, I don't want to say dropped the ball, but definitely held back. And I'm sure that the thinking is that there's a few episodes left, and they have big things they want to have happen. But is there a bigger battle that's been more touted or set up from the very beginning of the show than this one? And to just kind of, I don't know, to let all the biggest name characters roll through unscathed in most regards, I think is a missed opportunity for sure.
Yeah,
So, I'm sorry.
A lot of fat, I guess, at this point, and it's an awfully trim steak, really. I mean, I think the chat's kind of calling out all the names. I mean, obviously we lost Ed, Barrick. We'll talk about him later. At the very end of the episode, obviously we lose the Red Lady too, which is, she called that out way back when. So, but at this point, how many more characters can they really afford to lose? They still got 3 episodes to go. And the way I kind of look at it is like, eventually, like, it's kind of like the problem with, other shows like The Walking Dead. If you're just constantly beating down the viewer's favorite heroes and that stuff, like, eventually you got to give that one victory. And to me, I think this was definitely that one victory.
So,
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
John, you asked a question a minute ago, and Amelia Clark, I think she's the one that said it earlier this week in an interview I read, where if you thought that episode's battle was big, wait till you see episode 5's battle. Because we have two episodes that are going to have the big battles, and that's 3 and 5. Where episode 4 is going to be a reset. Now, if I don't know how much you guys are into the books, or if you've read the comics, or George R. This is not George R. writing this season.
Right.
Okay, so we are going to get some fan love because R.R. just ripped our hearts out right now and then laughed because that's what he does. I heard he is planning weddings if you guys want to get a wedding planned by him, but nonetheless, this, and everybody's like, why wouldn't they save the Night King for the last season or the last episode? If you think about it, the story is not about the Night King. The story is about the Iron Throne and who's going to sit on the Iron Throne. The Night King was just a backstory, and it was always a problem looming, and it united a lot of Westeros, where they had to, in order to move forward past Cersei, they have to stop the Night King, and now all focus can be on King's Landing.
Yeah, and I agree. I see that for sure, and I totally agree with you that you can see, not like in huge ways, but in little ways, the writing shifting from George R.R.'s skeleton to where they are now. And I think that's the concern, is that you want to be truthful to the dynamics, the overall sense of the world that he lays out. And for me, that would require at least another pound of flesh from this battle. And I'm not saying you're going to lose 5-6 of our main characters, but somebody needs to be that. I guess it was Ser Jorah in that sense, because he's been with the show since the beginning, you could argue. But I felt like they missed the opportunity, or at least I feel like there was another pound of flesh that could have been added in for me.
I think they tried to add that with the redemption story of Theon.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they wanted to try to redeem him in some way. The story started in Winterfell, then it kind of took off at King's Landing. He brought all the people that have done wrong to to Winterfell to right their wrongs, and now that they have an opportunity to go down, and I do want to get into.
Okay, before we jump, can I just say then? I do agree that he got his nice redemption. My concern would be George R. Martin is not a big redemption believer.
No,
I feel like I would have liked a death that didn't have a redemption. That was tragic in nature, because Jorah got his moment of success. I think Theon got his moment of success, and it's almost like they earned a heroic death. And I wanted somebody to really earn a tragic death. I think maybe that's what I'm really going for. Is not a death that felt like, it was consistent with the world that Martin had set up, where it doesn't work out.
So the reason I'm laughing is because my wife said the exact same thing while we were watching it. And she goes, well, he's going to die saving Bronn. And she goes, wouldn't it be funny, though, if he tripped and stabbed himself? And I'm like, that may have been more fitting.
I was just kind of waiting for Sansa to do something really dumb with that knife. But I'm guessing we haven't seen the last of that little dagger that Arya gave Sansa, is my guess. So we'll see what happens there.
Use the pointy end.
Exactly, yes.
So as far as Sansa with the knife, especially when she's down there in the crypt with Tyrion and they're having all these heart-to-heart moments, and then all hell basically breaks loose, I thought for sure that she was going to end up having to save him, that somehow one of the Stark White Walkers that were coming out of the different crypts was going to grab a hold of him and she was just going to stab it. I was waiting for it to happen. I wanted to see it happen. I didn't get it, but I did love all the moments between them talking about how their marriage would have never worked, but he was always the best. And that last bit where they honestly, I do think they both are thinking they're both going to die, and they just hold each other's hands and he kisses hers. And there's a shared look there. And I want to see them back together. I want to see another Lannister Stark wedding, but this time done right.
Yeah, I was kind of happy with that too, just because like they're thrown together in that sham marriage way back when, to the point where most everybody I feel like forgot about it. And I think Sansa had a couple throwaway lines throughout the seasons where it's just like, I've never really liked Tyrion, but he was always respectful to me during that whole time. And you finally kind of get to see the payoff between those two in these first few episodes of the final season. So I was actually positively surprised that they readdressed like their relationship, basically.
Yeah, I love when she says something about how he's the best of her husbands.
Yeah, right.
All these like really low bars, right?
And when listen, the eunuch, what is his name?
Varys.
Varys. So there was something though that I was bothered by, because Melisandre told Varys that he was going to die with her in Westeros. When she was leaving when she went to meet Jon for the first time, and that she told Varys that as she was leaving, and he's like, "Will I see you again?" And she goes, "Yes, we both have to die here in Westeros."
Yeah, I thought there was some line last season, where they had an interaction, and basically she told Varys, it's like, before this whole Game of Thrones more or less is over, like we will both meet our end or something like that. So I'm very curious, especially since Varys did next to nothing in this episode. I'm really curious to see what his final payoff is going to be. I'm guessing it'll definitely have something to do with, the Lannisters and the Starks.
I think he's going to betray the Starks. I think he's going to betray this army, because he's always been a slime bag.
Yeah, he always trades up,
and he always played the both sides with his little flock of people.
Yeah, he's basically just another Littlefinger type star. Basically, he has been the whole time. So, yeah, we'll see what side he ends up on and all that good stuff.
I want to give a shout out to JP Budget Collecting in the chat, because he's been dropping some real knowledge in there. Yeah. He's talking about how in the books, the Night King has not really been a character, so it's not really as significant in those stories as he is clearly on the show. He mentioned that there's actually a deleted scene of Sansa in the crypt using the knife, and it's on the YouTube channel for HBO, and you can find that.
I need to watch that.
And then he just said that the quote was that Varys would die in Westeros, but not that they would die together.
Yeah.
So look at the knowledge drop. JP, respect.
So JP,
and I do want to address one of his comments. But he says,
"I just need you after the next battle. You can be on there with us, because we need some help. I want to talk about the Golden Company real quick at some point, but not right now."
So, do you guys want to get into Arya in this? Maybe not the whole part with Bran yet, but Arya just running through Westeros.
Yeah, when he is running through Westeros and the Hound is suffering from PTSD, and I'm just sitting there, and he's like, "Come on, we gotta go," and he's like, "What's it worth? We're all gonna die here." And next thing you know, it's worth something to her, and she slides down the roof. I'm like, this girl is amazing.
And I thought it was a nice way to highlight how she's clearly grown up in this castle and knows all the ins and outs, knows the different places, and even in this moment of crisis is able to use the surroundings to her advantage well, without having to like spell all that out for us. They just sort of show her doing it, which is badass.
Yeah, Arya, you can see her standing on top of the castle wall, just itching to get into the fight at the beginning of the episode. You can just tell she's just twitching to use all of her weapons. And when she does actually see the forces start to get taken out, she just hands Sansa that dagger and says, "Hey, you got to go in the crypt. I got some killing to do. You know, stick them with the pointy end, and let's get this going." And she just jumps into the fight, and you instantly see her take down maybe 15 within like very quick succession. So definitely racking up the kill count there. But her, I think this is the first time you actually see her truly scared since coming back from her Bravosian training and everything. This is the first time since she became no one, since she returned, that I've truly seen her scared in any interaction with anyone. And I really appreciated that, especially the scene with her running around in the library. I was terrified for her. You guys want to get into that next?
The library scene just showed like her training, what she's gone through, and honestly, I thought she was gonna die. I thought this was it for her, and I thought her like tweets about the only woman standing was just cover up, and I was really, really emotionally invested into this character because I just remember her. I remember every episode trying to figure out like who she's gonna kill, what she's gonna do, how can this girl went through hell. They all did in various ways, but this poor girl raised herself with a dude that wanted to kill her, with the faceless man. They took her eyesight for the longest time. She's panhandling. She only has, there were so many times where she saw Jon, but she couldn't say anything to him. And, I was vested in this character probably, and I didn't realize I was until this episode when the blood was dripping and everybody was heading towards her. And then that's was like, oh my God, I really actually like this character.
Well, I will say, I know it's easier to like Arya than it is to like Sansa. I know Sansa gets a lot of grief. I know it's easy to hate on Sansa, and I think it's unfair because I generally appreciate the characters in the show that play the Game of Thrones the best, and the Starks as a clan freaking suck at the Game of Thrones. They are the worst. It's a wonder that any of them are still alive. And what I've always liked about Sansa, what I always give her credit for, is that she plays the game and she's figured it out and mastered a lot of elements from all of this life experience that she's kind of gone through. So for me, I've always liked Sansa more. I just really have appreciated her arc, whereas Arya doesn't really have an arc. She had like a straight line. Like it was just like she was destined to be this person from episode 1. You could just see it. Whereas Sansa was like fodder. She looked like she was going to die. She's still dreaming about princes and marrying her magical prince and going to live happily ever after in King's Landing. And Joffrey's the cutest thing ever. Like she was in deep weeds. And to come out of that was always really impressive to me. Whereas Arya was like, she was destined for assassinhood, and this was obviously the payoff of that journey for her.
I agree 100% with all of that. I think Drew put it in the chase as or maybe it wasn't Drew, but anyway, someone said that Sansa has grown the most as a character, and I do agree. Out of like all of the Starks, she has definitely played this Game of Thrones the wisest because, obviously Jon Snow sucks at it. Ned Stark was horrible at it. Robb Stark, he decided to marry someone else and get killed. So, I agree.
Mom sucked at it.
Yeah, it's all her fault to begin with.
Their dad, like grandparents, it seemed like every layer of just bad. Stark
being the warden,
you don't have a side, right? They've got honor and then nothing else.
Sometimes it doesn't always pay. In Westeros, it doesn't always play pay off to be the good guy. You know, you're gonna die if you're nice. And but Sansa, that's Littlefinger through and through. I mean, he taught her the game. Unfortunately, the way he taught her was kind of.
You give credit to Cersei and you give credit to Joffrey. They taught her a crap ton as well, the hard way. You know.
Yeah.
What is it that Jamie says about Sansa? A couple seasons ago, he said this: "Girls like her don't live very long." It's because she was so naive when she first was immersed into the court of King's Landing, and she was manipulated and she was abused, and she grew up, and I mean, she outplayed quite a few people, especially with what happened to Littlefinger and maneuvering there. Unfortunately, she did go through quite a bit with, Ramsay and Joffrey. But I feel like this season, she's really come into her own. She's the Lady of Winterfell. All of her people are just, mad respect for Sansa, where a few seasons ago, they were basically calling her a traitor. They were saying that she had married to the Lannisters, that, this was going on, that was going on. I think she's proven herself to be a leader for her people the same way that her mother was. For the North, she's now this symbol. And yeah, she's not a fighter the way that Arya is, but she is a symbol and a leader for a lot of women there. And just, I mean, she's the one out of all the Starks that can actually speak to a crowd. I mean, let's be honest here. Bran's not really a conversationalist. Arya is more than a sayer. And I mean, Jon, he always just gets himself in it so much deeper the second he opens his mouth. They need Sansa. They really need Sansa now.
There was 2 memes, and there's a meme of Jon hugging Bronn, and he's like, "Oh my God, look, he's a young man now." He goes, "No, I'm not." And that's all it said. And then there's another meme where Jon's hugging Arya, and he goes, "Thanks for not protecting me in there. Where were you when Sansa? I could have used my back." And she says, "Oh, she's the smartest person I know." And it shows Jon walking away, and he goes, "Everybody in my house became retarded." It was just, and I'm like, what is going on? But if you go back and you look at the first episodes, I mean, like the very first episode, I was watching it today, and Macy is so little, and he hands her noodle for the first time, and he says, use the pointy end. And I mean, these characters have, I think they're phenomenal actors. Unfortunately, I think a lot of them are going to be typecasted from here on out. But this show, HBO does such a good job of Sunday night TV. It's ridiculous. Thank God Sopranos, but this is going to be good. And I guess to continue on with Arya's journey, I mean, she's a badass. And here we are. The dragons are getting their asses whooped. They're both crashed at this point. Daenerys is standing out in the middle of a field.
Okay, I'm going to say it right now.
Yeah.
Why did she land? Why?
I don't know.
Her landing is what caused Jorah to die.
Yep.
I'm saying it right now. She got her best friend killed.
Wait, when she landed, okay, whose dragon got all the zombies on?
That was hers, but it was when she lands, because she lands to have that little conversation with Jon. He was like, "I'm going for Bran," and she's like, "Awesome." And you just see her idling there on the ground, and Drogon's just kind of looking around, and all these zombies are running at him. It's like, well, maybe we should actually get out of here No. Next thing you know, Drogon is being scaled by a bunch of White Walkers, and he's trying to shake him off. Unfortunately, he shakes her off, and then she's just stuck in the middle of a field with a bunch of White Walkers approaching.
So, but you have to admit. So we're gonna. There's so many comparisons to this from here on out to Endgame that is ridiculous, and I'm not going to make them out of respect to you.
You can make them. You can make them.
Okay, so you got the Night King here, Thanos, and you've got Captain America here, Jon Snow, and they're just eyeballing each other. So where the two run at each other in in Endgame, well, Night King is like, nah, I'm not having this shit. And he brings everybody back. And at this point, I'm like, John's going to die. Because he is fighting through hordes and hordes of people to get to Bronn. And this is one of the funniest things I've seen. Maybe I'm sick, but it's literally raining men. There are White Walkers falling from the sky because the dragon is up there just shaking them off. And John's running through the castle, and there's White Walker fall, White Walker fall.
Have you seen the meme where somebody took the Taylor Swift Shake It Off and they just put Drogon's head? Like it's the video playing, but it's literally just Drogon's head on Taylor Swift's body. It's just like all these White Walkers.
That's funny. But I guess the rewind on that scene real quick. This scene is kind of like why I don't think Jon or Dany will end up on the throne, is because they're unfortunately at the end of the day, they talk about bloodlines and everything, but they're both, they're honorable and kind of dumb at the same time, because this is the part where Dany could have kept flying around and let Jon die, and she would have been the undisputed heir for everything at that point. But no, instead she's like, I still have feelings for Jon Snow. I'm gonna take Drogon. We're gonna try to save him, and that was very costly to her at the end. Not only is Drogon messed up, it cost her Jorah at the end of the episode too.
Here's the saying: Jon knows nothing, but does everything, and Bronn knows everything and does nothing. I mean, really, we're at a point now that Jon is now facing off one-on-one with a dragon zombie that is shooting flames at him. Now we're going to cut to Bronn, who is sitting in a chair, all weird looking, and just having people shoot arrows around him at White Walkers as they're coming. Theon goes to pull one last arrow, and there's no other arrows left. It's just him, Crazy Eye Bronn, and the Night King. And he makes a run at it. Unfortunately, he gets stabbed in the gut very quick. Did you think it was going to happen or not?
Oh, no, he was dead. Man, I'm surprised he even made it to the Night King, to be honest. But that kind of just shows the arrogance of the Night King. Because he could have just said, like, hey, get this idiot out of my way, and then I'm going to kill Bran real quick. So this is where you really see the Night King is an arrogant SOB.
Hey, Cat, I'm sorry to interrupt. TJ just dropped some knowledge in the chat, and I am so excited.
Oh, nice.
He says that the dog and both dragons are arrived in the new trailer for the next episode.
Well, we argued about the dragons because he kept saying that Rhaegal was dead, and I told him that he was an idiot. So we rewatched it several times. I didn't see a ghost.
Now,
I'm all for it. I don't want to see it.
After we get to the climatic ending, I just want to get your guys' take on a couple of not fan takes, but some stuff in the book that I want to still see that could possibly happen. So, Theon's dead. Go on. It's all you.
You're a good man, Theon.
Yep.
So, John, what's your thoughts, man?
I mean, obviously, Theon has to pay the ultimate price for all his F-ups, right? Like, he can't just walk off. And so, obviously, he had to get his redemption story. I get it. I thought it was just kind of like pissing into the wind in some ways. It's like, what is the point of charging this guy down? Like, what is the point? Like, I mean, I guess it's to demonstrate something, not really to do anything, which is classic brand system. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't, I didn't know that I cared one way or the other at that point about the whole Theon thing. I was way more moved and interested in the journey the Hound kind of went through as far as facing down his fear, because he honestly let it out. I care about this kid, right? The Hound pausing to say, fire, yeah, undead, yeah, I'm not in my element, but I'm no longer going to pretend like the little girl didn't mean anything to me. Now the little girl, I'm gonna just face all this crap down, and if I can help her in some way, it'll be worth it. Which is very unhound like, and so his redemption in the battle meant more to me than Theon, and just personally.
Well, he gets his redemption in the battle, and they go into a room, and they're stuck in there with Melisandre, and Melisandre looks at Arya and says, "I know you," and Arya responds, "I know you. You've killed many men. Green eyes, brown eyes, and even blue." And that's it. And she goes, "It looks like the god of death is coming for us today." And what do we say to the god of death? Not today. And I got chills. Look, Carson, chill.
Yep.
And
There they are.
I gotta put my coat back on.
Getting chilly.
Yeah.
And the
Look at this coat is weird. It's got eyes and stuff, but it does. It legitimately does. I'll show you. But so why doesn't Mark take us out with what happens next?
What is Mark eating?
Oh, what am I eating?
Sausage. We were just talking about the
We just had the Melisandre moment. Eyes. Arya.
Oh.
You'll close many eyes. And Arya going after.
Throw the poor guy out of the
And gestures that
I gotta read Sarah Allen's comment. Sarah Allen's comment real quick. Says, "Where did Chad find his shipping container to hang out in?"
The green eyes. Now it's gonna be just blue.
Oh, Cyber Friday. Yeah.
He's having way too much fun with that.
actually what I
So, go ahead, John.
I mean, I guess we're to the moment, right? Like the end moment. Caleb has been throwing a lot of shade. He hated this episode except for the moment. I've heard some of the almost opposite statements from people where they're like, this episode, that moment wasn't earned. Not that Arya, didn't go through her arc in this episode and earn that moment, but no, more like the writers didn't set this up in a way. So how do I explain it? In writing classes in film school, they said that the best plot twists and moments in a story were both unexpected, but that also were inevitable, right? Like you didn't see it coming, but then and looking back, it couldn't have gone any other way, right? You look back thinking like, I did not see that coming, but dang, it had to happen that way. And I felt like some friends were saying, yeah, I didn't see this moment coming, but it also doesn't feel right in some way. How does everybody feel about that moment? I mean, obviously it makes you cheer, but do you feel like it fits the world right?
I'm going to go back to it as we talked earlier. At this point, this guy didn't write it.
that is true.
I mean, that's the problem I have is, and my son, he's upstairs, but he's cynical when it comes to these kind of things. And he said, it's not going to be the actual story until the story actually gets written by George R. So we're getting a lot of fan hype.
I mean, for me, I think 100% this is absolutely earned. I mean, a lot of people in the chat are dropping the fact that, Arya, she's been on this very long
I'm
journey
not homeless.
through most of the seasons. And, I mean, ever since she had to see her father beheaded back in season 1, that's where, in my opinion, her true journey started. Because obviously she hasn't been right since. And, the world has literally just crapped on Arya and the whole Stark family since that point. So, in my opinion, that was like the ultimate redemption. Meanwhile, I mean, it's Game of Thrones. It was filled, especially during the George R.R. book-written based seasons, it was filled with shock deaths. So why shouldn't those shock deaths really apply to even the Night King? So honestly, I didn't think the Night King was going to fight it at the end of this episode, but I was, as surprised as anyone else when it happened. So I very much enjoyed this scene. It's going to be one of those scenes that's going to be talked about when people talk about Game of Thrones, the TV show, for years to come. So I absolutely think it was all good.
So the moment that we're talking about is Arya comes storming through the background. She jumps up right when the Night King's about to kill Bronn. Night King turns around, grabs a girl from the north. We all know what happens when you do that. You die. He goes to stab her. She grabs his ankle. She drops the dagger and stabs him in the gut. Game over. They all die. I go, holy shit, what did I just watch? This was awesome. Yes! Yes! And I don't care if it was dark. I loved it.
So the one thing that hasn't been touched on that I feel like we definitely need to point out, the same blade that Arya uses to kill the Night King to protect her brother is the same blade that was meant to end his life in season 1. That blade has quite a legacy in its own, and well, it did just kill a pretty badass character. I personally feel like this moment was earned. I feel like I wasn't expecting it in this episode the same way that I feel like a lot of people were shocked that it actually happened in this episode. I was really shocked that they were able to accomplish this all in one episode. That was really awesome. But I would feel like the biggest disappointment to me in this scene isn't how quickly the Night King goes down. It's the fact that Arya is just able to sneak in past the generals, past all the White Walkers, and to get to the Night King that easily, and without him even noticing her until she is right here. That's the thing that kind of surprised me. But I mean, I cheered. I loved it. It was amazing when it happened. And it's definitely a scene that I feel like will stand up. So I'm about it. I'm for it. How about you?
Yes.
Just remember, no one can kill the Night King. No one.
Well, she is a no one. So
Marks are like a little Arya.
did he just call you Arya?
Yeah,
I think he just said you look like a 12-year-old little girl.
I do not.
Serious? You just said I looked like a 12-year-old little girl, Katie.
He said that you're like
Mark, I would never say that. I'll defend you. I mean, she's the one that keeps you in a box.
Yeah, Mark's going to leap out of that box and kill the Night King. You'll see.
it's a bigger box. It's fine.
Holes.
I agree with the chat too. A lot of people saying alternatives like having Jon Snow face down against the Night King. That doesn't seem right at all. And I'm glad that they did not go that route and intentionally kind of hamstrung that idea seemingly from the start of this battle. It kept every time Jon came anywhere near to fighting the Night King, a giant obstacle would get in the way, and I thought that was excellent.
So back to the chat.
Uh-oh.
JP's budget collecting just cracked me up.
Need to see the meme about Gimli and Aragon. Theory is the Hound threw her.
That would be freaking badass.
I saw
Don't
another
tell
funny meme today
You think
where
she's
Arya does the show, and he goes, "It only counts as one."
So and I'll ask the chat this, but there are. Chad, were you punching sides of beef before this episode started? Yeah, I'm in a cooler. Flaming Sheila's in the chat. She says hi. Bear Island Comics is on a roll. I appreciate it. Discovery Base in the chat as well. But who's John gonna face off moving forward? Like, I think there's a lot of questions that are coming up right now. Like, where's this episode going? The Golden Company. They've never broken a contract. They've only been loyal to a Targaryen, especially one whose name is now John's name. I think this is going to be exciting because I think you're going to see more military aspects, a lot more planning, and a lot more espionage. If I think it's going to be truly the Game of Thrones coming up.
So, moving forward, now just talking about, since we're basically through this episode, we've seen the promo for the next one, and we're going to see the planning and everything. I think we should just go into what we think is going to happen next. My big thing, who is going to kill Cersei? I have a short list of characters that I would love to see in Cersei. I want her to die. I'm sorry.
Didn't the witches say?
Yay, Chad! Yay! I'm so
Yeah, I know.
The witch predicted that her brother would kill her, and
Kingslayer
assumed that it's Tyrion. And I think that the classic Martin solution to that would be that it's Jaime. But that's just I foresee Jaime backstabbing the person sitting on the throne, just like he did to start the last prequel.
But Cersei is on Arya's list, so does she kill Cersei wearing Jaime's face?
I don't know. I that's a good question. I just foresee Jaime finally driving the sword home again, but an actual sword this time.
Yeah, I don't know, Chad. I think you're overbooking the territory, as the great legend would say there. I think that, maybe Sansa and Tyrion's relationship and this now blade that Sansa has might be given to, little brother to get with the pointy end. So we'll see.
I personally would like to see Sansa kill Cersei. I mean, little bird, little perfect.
How about if she
Little bird. I don't know how she'd get there, Chad. Okay, there's a lot of things that would have to be put in place. But you know what? She killed Ramsay with some dogs. I think she could find her way to finagle in and kill Cersei. She's a smart girl. I highly doubt that would ever happen. I would love to see that happen, but no, I think it's going to be Jaime. I think she's going to miscarry the child during this whole next several episodes. There's going to be a huge bloody confrontation, as there should be with Game of Thrones. And she's not going to want to give up the throne. And I feel like Jaime will have to put her down the way he put down the Mad King.
But we're also forgetting one thing. She sent somebody is on their way to Winterfell with a crossbow.
Good old Lord Bronn.
And
we haven't seen the last of Lord Bronn.
If everybody remembers this, the last thing Tyrion said to Bronn was, "My sister is going to offer you money one day to kill me. Whatever she offers you, I'll double it." And Bronn, he's got ties to both Tyrion and Jaime, and I think you're gonna see a lot of things. Unfortunately, not George R.Y., but I think a lot of things are going to be coming full circle. A family's going to be formed up in the north from what they just went through, the two battles that they just went through, the Battle of the Bastards and then the Battle of Winterfell. And I believe wholeheartedly that Cersei's going to get her just desserts. Maybe some dragon fire.
I don't know. The North's looking pretty weak after that battle, though. So I think that balanced the scales a little bit in terms of, like, you know, Daenerys bringing the greatest army Westeros has ever seen. That army's hurting now. So, like I said, I kind of hope the next episode is Cersei kind of like making her chess game board when, you know, everyone else is licking their wounds. If I was Cersei, I would strike ASAP because the dragons are hurting. Everyone's got crimson masks at this point. I mean, she's got to strike soon.
Bear Island Comics says Bronn won't kill Tyrion, but tries to kill Jaime. What's her name? She dies saving Jaime.
Sorry.
She's going to die saving Jaime from Bronn. That makes Jaime go after Cersei and fulfill the prophecy. He kills the Mad King and he kills the Mad Queen.
Royalty's clear.
I like it. Dude, I'm taking this Bear Island. I mean, even though he keeps on telling me I'm in a refrigerator. I'm super sensitive. I had a really shitty day today.
You do look a little frosty right now, I'm not going to lie.
I was going to get like makeup on and come in as the Night King, but that just seemed like over.
I'll send you some prosthetics and face paint.
So like, after the next battle, like not next episode, but the following episode, can we all dress up like our favorite characters?
Yeah. Oh, she didn't get the elephants.
Oh, yeah,
You better see one elephant before the series is up. I mean, but then again, they don't like paying the budget for the dogs, so what makes me care to see the elephant? If they're going to buy an elephant.
So, I'm gonna see if I can give a shout out to somebody. I forgot who it was. I'm sorry. All right, go on. I apologize. All right, I'll keep talking then. Can you guys hear me? Is this thing on?
I can hear you.
So, that brings us full circle on the episode. We appreciate this. We're having a blast talking about it. I mean, it was just like things are coming together. I mean, I literally wanted to change my setup today, so I stopped on the way home and I bought the flag and like some real. I mean, like I know we all love comic books and we're some nerdy people, but this dude, he was super nerdy. He was like, "You can't buy the black one. That's not the real colors." And I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, "I'll put the Targaryen one and the Lannister one on hold for you till tomorrow." I said, "Thanks, man."
Oh.
So yes, Bear Island Comics. I have been to that bar in Las Vegas with the ice. I actually stole my fur coat from there.
Yeah, you got to show them the fur purse or whatever you said it was.
Oh, the scarf! Check out this scarf. I'm gonna turn a light on for this scarf.
No.
It's,
No.
it's got a.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's real. Little pauses too.
There's two more biting its tail, and then there's another one biting another foot, and they got like paws and.
Yep, it's real.
Chad, you may have rabies after reviewing this episode of Game of Thrones.
Rabies, fleas.
So, do you think you can join us after the next big battle?
I couldn't hear any of that. What?
Do you think you might be able to join us on after the next big battle? And
Yeah, I think I would totally be pumped. This is who I'm hoping gets the throne in the end. I don't know if you can see. Right there, that's the guy.
I mean, it's anyone's game right now.
Hey, John, send me that picture.
Chad,
I'm gonna make a throne. Mark, get out of the box. I need a throne tomorrow.
Tomorrow. All right. Let me find all those noodles and I'll put them together.
So we have a ton of stuff going on, and I appreciate everybody out there. Again, I want to show a huge thanks to great legend TJ, Bear Island Comics, Gray Matter, Hulk, Discovery Bay, JP Budget Collecting, Caleb, C. Woodard. I'll say that again. The Flaming Sheila. You're much better at this, Carson. I can't do that.
Are you telling me you're making me do one tonight? I'll give him one. So we got Bear Island Comics. He's in the chases. Chad's kind of like Tyrion anyway, you guys. He drinks, and he's actually, well, never mind. So there's Bear Island Comics final burn of the night. We got Caleb Comics. Murphy, he's in the chat still. He's been talking about how much he loves Arya. He says his future ex-wife is Arya, he typed earlier. We got my man, one of my all-time favorites, The Great Legend Show. Hopefully he's doing well tonight. He's talking about King Nothing in the chat and Chinatown, which, you know, the forgettable, unforgettable time, depending on how much you had to drink that night. But in my opinion, you know, to Great Legend's point, there's no more appropriate song for Game of Thrones than King Nothing. Because at the end of all this chaos, because my theory has always been, you know, everyone's going to die. You're going to have some unknown king or queen on the throne. Where's your crown, King Nothing? Enough said anyway. We just had Biggie Shack. He's clanging and banging, just joining the chat. What's going on, Biggie Shack? Hope you're having a good night. We also got Scott Farr. He's in the chat. What's going on, Scott Farr? We got the Slab Dragon himself, TJ Watson, talking about those elephants. We got JP's Budget Collecting, dropping the knowledge all night. Big thanks to him. I think I saw Drew Manchu earlier talking about some Rob Stark trading his legacy of Starkdom to some ladies. So there's that. I won't put it in Drew terms. Keep it clean. And let's see who else we got. I think. Oh yeah, we got JB. We've been discovered, guys. We got JB from Discovery Bay Comics. So big thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. And I ran out of water, and I ran out of people to shout out in the chat. So thanks, guys.
My cat dragon's abandoning me.
Oh, and Simple Man's Comics. What's going on, man? Just joined us. And we got Midnighter on Cat's Couch. Causing chaos. Shout out to Midnighter.
All right. Kat or John, you got any closing remarks?
No, just thanks for having me. I've been a Game of Thrones guy for quite a while. Loved the books, and now just the show. I'm sad to see it end. So just being able to talk about it, make it last a little bit longer. So thanks for having me.
We appreciate that. Kat, I'm sorry that I started doing my thing.
You're fine.
But this is actually our first inaugural show. And I actually made a trailer for it, and I gave it to Discovery Bay way too late. And the show is called Outside the Issues, where we're going to be reviewing entertainment, horror, and next week we're going to do a case study on the movie Endgame. I mean, Endgame and Old Boy. And we're going to see how they relate.
Those go together like, oil and water.
It's got the same cast in it. It's about the only similarities they have. And Mark and I are coming out with a show very soon. It's called What's Mark Eating? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be Mark just eating. And for all those wrestling fans out there, Carson, you want to give them some break now?
Yeah, we're going to talk about wrestling at some point. I really don't know what it's gonna be. I think I'm just gonna go live some Sunday and invite wrestling fans, and we're gonna talk about wrestling. I think Chad and I, we decided we're gonna pick some classic PPVs, such as you might see a ECW Heatwave '98, or an old school Attitude Era WrestleMania, or maybe WCW Bash at the Beach '96. You never know, because I don't know yet. We'll find out on to be named wrestling show.
And the best part about it is Mark's never watched wrestling, and we might even do a quiz show with him and ask him what a jobber is.
A what?
What is a jobber?
Perfect. All right, you'll find out. Comical wrestling show.
One night, you guys got to definitely check out a Story comic book. They are kicking ass. And they're almost through Y the Last Man, and then they're going to be following up with Age of Apocalypse. Also,
they're definitely not almost through Y the Last Man.
Coming in 2020.
Amazing. It's a riot. It's too much fun. Those guys are awesome.
Those guys are the best. And Tuesday night you have something, but I don't know what. Like I think Stranger Things might be on there one time. I think
Golden Guys.
Golden Guys, and I thought there was something else, but I could be wrong.
I think we have a show called Comic Core Unlimited on Wednesdays at 10
Which
p.m.
is a great show. Thanks to the
So I think there's a guy that's on here that's on that show.
Gotta be Mark.
You guys have been doing awesome, and then your book club also on Wednesday nights, John, is fantastic. Thursday night we're doing this show, and then Friday night is Off the Rails, the A show, Comic Core Unlimited, and possibly a bunch of auctions coming in the near future. But with that being said, Kat, get us out of here.
All right, guys. Please do remember, I'm just going to do it the cat run figures way. Please do give us a like if you liked this video, which, let's be honest, everyone liked this video because it was awesome. And we had a great panel of people on here. We even had Mark show up and eat some stuff, so that's more than willing of a like. Please do sub everybody up in the chat the way the great legend would always tell everyone to, because, you know, great comic book community, and this is a community channel. Also, if you aren't already, please do go right ahead and subscribe to this channel, because we are putting out content almost every single night. We went through the whole run through of a whole bunch of shows that we have going on at Comic Core all week long. A number of different people are in and out. It's craziness. It's awesome. Also, hit the bell so you get the notifications of when we go live here on Comic Core, because a lot of live shows and a lot of craziness there. You never know what could happen on the Comic Core, guys. So, also, be sure to check out any of the older videos we have available here on the Comic Core, because, you know, a number of really great shows you may need to watch on the rewind, because it's during the week. A lot of us have to get up early to go to work. It happens. But everyone here on the panel, thank you so much for being a part of this. This was so much fun. And until next week, guys.
Hey, this thing has a mouth.
Hey, it's kind of hard.
And the words of legend. Good night. God bless everybody.
Bye.